Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah live question and answer session here. Thursday evening, I try to come online every Thursday evening. This is an open forum. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you want, whether it's on the United States or on the state of Utah. And last week, had a couple individuals joining us from outside of the United States. So, state of Utah. Where's everyone joining us from? That's my question. I really enjoy getting to know where people are viewing the channel from. It's real exciting. I had an individual reach out to me who was watching the show last week from Algeria, and somebody was live from Finland. It was around 5 a.m. in the morning in Finland. So, yes, I really enjoy some of that. So, if you have any kind of questions, just put them in a box. Utah has been very nice weather this week. Today, though, we got a little bit of a cool down, came through the state. And I think the temperature today was only about 60 degrees. So a little bit of a cool down. Oh, we're from Orange, California. I assume that's Orange County, California. Great. New York, moving to North Salt Lake in 1 month with my husband and 2 kids. Cool. That is a long way. New York. Are we New York City or New York State? That is a long distance. So I would be curious. New York. Are you originally from Utah? Have some ties to Utah? A lot of the growth that we see is typically from like some of our neighboring states, California, Oregon, Washington, some of the pretty much West Coast. We see a lot. So always curious, New York area. 1 hour north of the city, which is in the woods. Okay. I'm familiar with it. I am familiar with that. Visited New York City. Actually, we spent quite a bit of time out there. Got to go down. We went into New Jersey, down to Atlantic City, and we went into New York State, further up into Connecticut, and saw a lot of that area. So some great, beautiful area. So like to go back. That was, wow, many years ago. That was just after 9/11, a year after 9/11. So yes, it's been a while, but yeah, I had a great trip out there. So like to do that again. So like I say, state of Utah, we are doing great. I had an article here on state of Utah. This was kind of funny. So there's an individual that purchased an actual NASCAR race car, full bore, you name it, high dollar car. It was actually Rusty Wallace's NASCAR. He purchased it. The individual lives just outside of Park City, Utah. And he was taking it to a storage facility in Utah County, so south of Salt Lake City. Instead of putting it on a trailer or a transporter, he got in the car and he drove it. And they've actually got video of it. It's probably on YouTube also. The title of this particular article was Guy Drives NASCAR Race Car to McDonald's. So he actually stopped at McDonald's on his trip down to Utah County. I think he was going down to Orem area. That road, I have traveled that road many times. And I can tell you the highway patrol, that road down Parley's Canyon, and I-15 going south to Utah County is highly occupied by highway patrol officers. I do not know how he managed to make that trip without getting stopped. I guarantee if I got in my car and took that exact same route, I would probably come across one or two police officers during my trip. But I gather there's also a video out there of him doing it, et cetera, et cetera. So, neat, kind of a little bit different. And again, maybe he's got so much money that he felt, just pay the ticket. I don't know what they would give you for a ticket. You probably get the vehicle possibly impounded, since it breaks so many rules and regulations. That so there's an article on basically here on Utah, why rents are high in Utah and the West. Many different reasons. Some of the state of Utah is just a growth that's happened over the last probably 10 years. There's just such a demand for rental properties, and that drives cost up. So that's how it goes. But some of the areas around the West Coast here, it's not just Utah. So the Sacramento area saw rent jump 25%. Las Vegas up 25% or 24.8%. Phoenix 22.3%. Jacksonville, Florida 22%. Riverside, California 21%. Orlando, Florida 20.3%. Tampa 20%. Portland 19.4%, which I was kind of surprised to see Portland on the map. So, in Fresno, California, 19.3%. Rents are just skyrocketing. So, the article also talked about the, should you rent or should you purchase a home? So, and basically, to consolidate it a little bit, the key takeaway was, if you plan on being in a home for a length or period of time, it's usually better to purchase. So, Alex, how long do you think it'll take new construction to cool some of the low inventory demands in the Utah area? Well, as far as, let me take that in two sections. I'm a little confused on the question a little bit, but if we're referring to bringing new construction online to meet the demand that we have in the state of Utah, that's not going to happen. You cannot build homes, find the land, develop the land, build homes, supply chain problems. You can't do it. You can't keep up with the demand and the future demand we're going to have in the state of Utah solely by building. Okay. As far as new construction with low inventory, that is actually changing right now in the state of Utah. We are seeing, with the rising interest rates, new construction, I think, is going to go through a little bit of a tough time. Homes that are already under construction right now, I think this is happening because I'm getting phone calls on this. So there are people backing out of new construction right now because they've been priced out. When they originally went under contract, it was a 3% loan. Now they're looking at upwards of 5.5%, and their budget cannot handle the new construction. The prices have not come down. So they signed a contract back in December to build a new home at 3% at $650,000. Today, that home's still $650,000, but at 5.5%. So there are homes that people are pulling out of. They just can't afford it. So that's leaving a little bit more new construction on the market. And I'm getting phone calls on this all the time. So it's phone calls and emails. And it's kind of funny because the phone calls are from people I know, and they'll call me and, hey, Mike, we just had someone back out of a home. It's all done, or it's 1 month from being done. You got someone that can shoot right in the home right now. My instant response is, hey, bro, it's been 2 years since I talked to you. And that's the truth. They forgot about me over the last 2 years because it's been so crazy. So that is starting to change now. So you'll see a little bit more new construction floating around. And I really feel, and I don't have any statistics on this or any data because this is all happening over the last 4 to 6 weeks, that we've gone into the 5% interest range. But my bet is that new construction, when we're talking from dirt, right now from dirt, has to be down. Some people are not comfortable with the situation of starting a brand new construction deal now. And even if they have a price on the home, $650,000, but what will the interest rate be in 8 to 9 months when that home's done? It could be 7.5%. It could be 8%, 9%. It could be 5%. No one knows. So some of those people would rather look for an existing home because they know that if they get under contract tomorrow, they can go to the bank, lock the rate at whatever it is today, and that will be their rate. And they feel good about it. So I think that new builds now some builders have homes that they've already started because during this busy season, some home builders were waiting until they got it basically through the framing stage, maybe sheetrock, and then they were putting the homes up for sale. 2 reasons. One, the biggest reason is so they can control their costs. Once it's to that stage, they can add up their bills and get a good idea of where they're at on price for the home and the trades that still have to come in the home. They can get some estimates on that and come up with a solid price to say, hey, we feel comfortable we could sell this home for $600,000, how much we've got into it because it's half built. So those homes that are like half built, I think people will go after, but the ones that are, from the ground, it's going to be little. I think it's going to slow down a little bit. So I hope that answers your question there, Alex. New construction is tricky. It's tricky. It's definitely a challenge. It's a challenge for real estate agents. I've got new construction builds going on right now, and quite honestly, it's supply chain problems. The list goes on and on. So quality of labor is one of my biggest issues right now. So, but I think the new inventory will be a challenge for builders. We'll see how it goes as the months go by. We really have no idea where we are going. I had this conversation with somebody probably 3 or 4 or 5 days ago. I'll share it with you a little bit. Where we're going, economy, everything. And there's kind of like 2 scenarios. Let's go worst case scenario. A couple of the biggest problems we have going on in the world right now is the war in Russia. And then supply chain problems and COVID. That's worst case scenario. Russia decides to go all out, nuclear weapons. Well, NATO, the United States will join that war. COVID, we have a new batch of COVID coming into the country. Numbers are starting to rise in the state of Utah. If we start seeing problems around the country, around the world that affect our supply chain issues, then inflation can skyrocket. Recession, inflation can go even higher. Recession can come on. Fighting a war over here, sending troops to battle. Interest rates would the Fed would have to come and raise rates to try to combat this huge inflation, which would do a serious number on the housing market. that's kind of like a worst case. On the other side of the spectrum, Russia ends the war. Possibly a new government would get the world opened back up to peace and love and everything else. Economies around the world would probably start flourishing. COVID goes away, disappears. We get our supply chain issues resolved, the chip shortage issue, the whole line. I think in a situation like that, we would probably see interest rates stabilize. We would see home prices probably stabilize, depending on where the interest rate would be, stabilize, possibly go down a little bit. I don't anticipate interest rates going down. And we could go back to maybe some normal situation. So, and that's the kind of situation I really hope for, is go back to some kind of normal. Have peace and love around the world, our supply chain problems cured, COVID disappear, and we go back to how we lived life maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago when we had kind of like stable interest rates. We didn't have these crazy home appreciation rates. We didn't have the bidding wars, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I would like to see. So that's kind of where we could possibly be going, and somewhere in the middle. And nobody knows. No, I don't think anyone's got an answer for any of those issues that I brought forward. So who knows what will happen in Russia and Ukraine? Who knows where COVID is going to lead us, and the supply chain and the chip problems. Great questions this evening. Any more questions as I proceed down the line here? Anything people want to bring up, learn about the state of Utah, learn about the United States? If you are in the state of Utah, or you are coming to the state of Utah, I don't have the exact dates on this. I believe it's the end of June. They will be having an air show at Hill Air Force Base. It is a premier air show. It is, in the past, it has always been a fantastic air show. In the past, it has always been free to enter, free to watch the displays or view the air show and see the displays. So if you're in the area, it's a great time. They bring the Thunderbirds in. At Hill Air Force Base, we have, I don't know if they call it the Viper team anymore. It used to be called the Viper team. They're a demonstration team. They used to have F-16s, and they would go to air shows and put on a show. They now have F-35s, and they put on a show. And I'm not too sure if they still call it the Viper demo team. Probably not, because the Viper was a nickname for the F-16. So I'm not too sure they call it. But anyways, that's a fantastic show. If you get the opportunity, come out to the base. I believe it's end of June. Alex, there has been a lot of volatility in the stock market lately. Do you see Fed sticking to their plan of continued rate hikes? I do, 100%. It came straight from them. They're the ones who said they will be raising rates throughout the year again. And they're the experts. That's what I have to go by. And inflation right now is not under control by any means. Just look around. That is about the only thing they can really do to help fight this inflation. So I do see rates increasing. I do. And it has been, quite honestly, I feel like we went from 3% to 5% like overnight. It almost felt like it was overnight. I don't study the interest rates a whole lot, except when people are closing on a loan or something like that. I go to a closing, then I hear what the rate was. I don't get involved a whole lot with the mortgage side. It's people's personal business on that side. And so I don't really get involved too much, but people will tell me what their interest rate was. But it seems like for like a 2-month period, every closing I had, it was like 3.5. And the next one was 4.1 and then 4.7, just like overnight. week after week, they're just boom, boom, boom. And just like you woke up and you went from 3 to 5% like that. I think what most people anticipated and what I personally anticipated was maybe 3.25, maybe at the end of May, 3.5, end of July, 3.75. Maybe by the end of the year, I thought we might be around the 4 to 4.5% range, which would be 1% to 1% higher than what it was in December. That's kind of what I felt it was going to be. But no, it just skyrocketed. I mean, literally 2%, just boom, like that. So, yeah, I was shocked by the rate increases. And that's why when I say numbers of 7 or 8% by the end of the year, that's being realistic, really. I saw 2% in the first 5 months. So with inflation really high, would we see another 2% by the end of the year? It's a good possibility. That would put us at 7 to 7.5%. So good possibility. Okay. Any more questions this evening? And if you're curious of what some of the people that I talk to are doing with the interest rates, some people have been priced out of the market. There's no doubt about it. They were stretched at 3.5% and they just can't do the 5%, 5% plus. The rest, they can qualify. They're still okay. They can do the 5.5. They're going for it because it's kind of a security blanket. They're going with the 5.5%, whatever it is today that they're going to lock in. And if it does go down, they'll do a refinance. If it goes up, well, they're protected because they're purchasing right now. So at the end of the year, if it's 7.5 and they buy their house now, they feel that's a win situation. So then they're not at maybe 7%. So that's kind of the general feel of things. But definitely it has created some people to get out of the market. But at the same time, some other people who have been like sitting on the sidelines pop into the market. But we're definitely seeing more inventory on the market. I didn't look at the inventory before I came online. But the last time I looked, I think we were somewhere over 4,500 homes on the Utah MLS, which is a significant increase. I can remember reporting right here on Thursday evening, and I don't know when it was January, we were about 2,000 homes. So inventory has increased. It usually does increase going into spring and summer. But that's good news for people like we're still not at a balanced market. We need about 7,000 to 9,000 homes, maybe 8,000 to 10,000 homes with the population growth we've got. That would be more of a balanced market. But it's been climbing over the last month. So definitely has been climbing. So we'll really see what the numbers are come next week. The holiday weekend is a great time to list a home. Some people are out of town. They really like that time period. They're out of town, so they can do showings. Kids are getting out of school, so people a lot of times will plan their job relocations if they can around the school year. So we usually see a bump of inventory when we start hitting June the 1st and above. So we'll see what happens then. See where we go. Maybe we'll go from 45 to 65. I don't know. Any more questions this evening? Been a great evening. I appreciate all the questions. I didn't have anybody join me from outside of the country. So I appreciate everything. I'll be back again next weekend. Hope everyone will take care and stay safe, or next Thursday.